Norway has begun teaching immigrants lessons on how to treat women. Now, this is part of an assimilation program, but they're trying to be really smart in the way that they do this program. Now, considering the number of refugees that are pouring into European countries, this is an important lesson to teach, but I want you guys to judge for yourselves. So let me explain to you what the program is. Now, Norway has begun offering a controversial program that seeks to reduce the potential transfer of violence by working with male immigrants from countries in which women are not permitted to show skin or be publicly affectionate. Now, the article doesn't specify Muslim countries, but they're talking about Muslim countries and Muslim immigrants. Those courses coach the men in European sexual and social practices, teaching that smiling and flirting are normal and that if a girl is drunk, it does not mean that she's willing to do anything. There are other countries that are experimenting with similar types of lesson plans for immigrants. For instance, in Denmark, lawmakers are pushing to have sex education included in mandatory language classes for refugees. In Germany, Bavaria, the main entry point to Germany for asylum seekers, is already experimenting with such classes at a shelter for teenage immigrants, right? So this is more about making sure that the culture shock of Europe isn't too difficult for Muslim immigrants to understand. Obviously, women are treated differently in a lot of these Muslim countries, and these European countries want to ensure that these immigrants know, hey, you know what, we do things differently in Europe, so don't think that you can go ahead and treat women the same way here.
So I know some liberals are opposed to cultural assimilation and say, hey, look, let's not make value judgments. But I think Anna and I are going to agree that there are some bounds of reason to that.
Of course.
And
yeah.
so, and by the way, it's of course largely Muslim countries, as Anna pointed out, but not exclusively. And for example, one of the people quoted is from Eritrea, where there is a mix of different religions, but some of the cultural practices run across those religions. So, for example, there's female circumcision in parts of Africa where Muslims do it and Christians do it, as an example. So some are cultural, some are religious, and some are a mix. But either way, that's not what we do in Norway, right? And I think it's fair to say that's not what we do in America. So first off, there's nothing wrong with explaining the laws. So if you think that you can do anything you want to your wife, whether it's domestic violence or non-consensual sex, that is not the law here, so you better watch your ass, right? And now you don't have to do it in a threatening way like I just did, but you have to explain what the law is because you're going to find yourself in jail. It's not acceptable. We don't find it acceptable. If you do find it acceptable and you don't want to stay here, we understand.
Yeah.
But then you got to pack your bags.
Yeah, look, there are bounds of reason when it comes to assimilation. So for instance, if this lesson was basically telling people, you're not allowed to speak Arabic, that's not right. When you come to our country, you speak our language. Like, I mean, I get it. Like in America, we have that argument all the time when it comes to Mexican immigrants or immigrants from Latin America, right? Oh, well, why are they speaking Spanish? They're in America, they should speak English. Just relax, okay? Everyone should learn English, but if you hear people speaking a different language, it's not the end of the world.
So I got to jump in there.
Yeah.
So I came as an immigrant to this country when I was 8 years old, and I didn't speak English. I gained a lot from being immersed into English, and I did not do bilingual education. Apparently I didn't learn enough of the language. Anyway, and I loved that they threw me in and I figured out English when I was in 3rd grade and did not, in my opinion, have the crutch of bilingual education. But I'm not of the belief that my perspective is the only correct perspective. I really want everybody to learn English so we can all talk to one another.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't need to insult other people's languages. I also don't need to insult other people's cultures, but we do have some cultural norms here that are part of the law, and those need to be enforced, so we have to be very clear about that.
So let me give you an example of that. So going back to Norway and what they're trying to teach to the immigrants, a course manual uncontroversially reads, to force someone into sex is not permitted in Norway, even when you're married to that person. It clarifies, regardless of faith, the rules and laws, nevertheless, have to be followed. And by the way, in terms of the course material and what they're doing to make sure they don't, like, you know, unnecessarily demonize immigrants, they like to use a guy from Norway as the example, right? So so basically, men have weaknesses, and when they see someone smiling, it's difficult to control those weaknesses, and they use an immigrant that's like basically a white guy, right? So maybe that's a smart way to go about it. You don't want to demonize them. You just want to explain to them, hey, there's differences in culture here. Some of the differences that you're going to experience are part of our law or laws, and so we're just trying to teach you what those are.
So they use a Norwegian man named Arne, or Arn, A-R-N-E, as the culprit, and they use Hassan as the good guy who explains things to him. Now, you might see that as overly PC, and I get that, but hey, they're trying to tell people, we're not trying to demonize you, we're not trying to insult you, we're just trying to teach you what the laws here are. And if that's their safer way of doing it so that the people aren't put off and actually are open up their minds and listen to what the instructor is saying, have at it, Hoss.
Agreed.
And a man from Eritrea said, Abdu Osman Khalifa, he told the Times, if someone wants a lady in Eritrea, he can just take her and he'll not be punished. In Norway, they can do any job from prime minister to truck driver and have the right to relax. Good, he got it. Okay, that's right. You cannot take any woman you want in Norway. Don't do that.
Right.
Okay, and yes, they can even be prime minister. See, boom. Now we're doing, I think, the right kind of cultural assimilation.
Yep.
And again, if that's, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. If you don't agree with that, you think women shouldn't be allowed to have any job they want, you should be able to kidnap any woman off the street, please don't come to Norway.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair thing to say. You can't break the laws in our country. We wanted you guys to chime in on this, so there is a poll on our TYT app. If you don't have our TYT app yet, what's wrong with you? It's awesome, so download it. And here's the poll question. We basically asked you guys if this is okay. Our assimilation course is a good idea. An astounding 89% of you say yes. Only 13% of you so far say no.
Yeah, and by the way, to be fair, Anna, getting the app is really complicated.
Yeah.
You've got to type in all three letters, T-Y-T.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's pretty tough. Okay, so the reason we ask these questions is because we're genuinely curious. I was surprised that that number is so high for saying, no, assimilate, no, make them take the courses.
Well, again, context matters, and in this context, it makes sense.
All right, well, we'll get all the voting, and then we'll see where it comes out at the end.